not by accident, not by curiosity alone, but because a part of you has been dialing a frequency no one else could hear. You were guided a quiet pull, a small impossibility that bent your scrolling finger and held it on this title. Attune your quantum breath to dissolve chaos and anchor into infinite coherence. Don't skip. That phrase arrived like a breadcrumb placed by your future self, and your body answered before your mind had time to argue. Feel that. Breathe into it. Right now, something in you recognizes the scene. The same old patterns replaying like a scratched film. Conversations that end where they always do. Choices that feel pre-written. You have been living inside an observer loop, a gentle, relentless folding of attention that collapses the same small set of probabilities again and again. It feels familiar because familiarity is the brain's lullaby. It keeps you safe. Yet safety, tonight, shows up as stagnation. You feel the tug of it as a pressure behind your sternum, as if time itself is thickening around you. Listen, your body remembers more than your logic does. There have been nights when a single breath made the room tilt and a quiet knowing arrived, like light through a thin curtain. That was your quantum sensitivity tapping the edge of a new possibility. You have been taught to treat those moments as anomalies. In truth, they are line markers on the map of your destiny. There is a reason you are here. To learn to move your attention with a different kind of precision, not the brittle, spotlight focus that traps you into old outcomes, but a living coherence that welds your breath, your rhythm, and your attention into one poised instrument. Picture your attention as a hand hovering over a sea of shimmering options. Each way of looking selects a world. The problem is not you. It is where your attention has been trained to land. You have been collapsing the same narrow set of probabilities because that is what habit taught your field to expect. Now the invitation is to change the instrument. To attune. To breathe as if your inhale and exhale were tuning forks, each one setting the field to a purer pitch. When your breath harmonizes with your intention, the old film begins to unspool. Right here, in this suspended moment, you can feel a very small loosening. A tiny crack appears in the loop like moonlight through a shutter. That crack is enough. It is the exact place where coherence begins. You do not need force. You do not need frantic technique. You need a quality of attention that is embodied, a breath that is both soft and exact. A presence that steadies rather than chases. As you hear me and breathe with me now, imagine your inner landscape shifting from scattered atoms into a single, luminous lattice. Notice how your chest loosens, how time thins and stretches, how even your heartbeat becomes a metronome for something new. This is the opening. This is the warm, low hum before the tuning begins. Keep your awareness here. Hold the phrase in your mind as an anchor if you must, the title that brought you a map and a promise. In the next moment, we will name the loop clearly, see how it disguises itself as wisdom, and learn to observe the observer. For now, keep breathing. Let the recognition settle like a pebble dropped into still water. Watch the ripples expand. When the wave reaches your edges, you will know the invitation was real. You already feel it, don't you? That sense of circling back, of living inside a spiral disguised as progress. You wake, you breathe, you try again, and yet the day feels like yesterday painted with slightly different colors. This is not laziness, not bad luck, not lack of worth. It is something far more subtle, something physicists whisper about and mystics describe in poetry, the observer loop. The observer loop is what happens when your consciousness, instead of roaming freely through the infinite, becomes hypnotized by the familiar. Imagine standing in front of a deck of infinite cards, each one a different probability for your life. But your hand keeps reaching for the same three, over and over. Why? Because they feel known, and the known feels safer than the unknown. This is the trap. Look at your own life gently. How many conversations with loved ones end in the same silence, the same misunderstanding? How many mornings feel like déjà vu, as though you've already lived the day you just woke into? How often do your manifestations circle back to almost progress that nearly blooms, then wilts back into the soil of the familiar? These are not random accidents. They are signatures of the loop. The loop has many disguises. Sometimes it appears as time distortion, hours dragging like weights, then weeks evaporating like mist. Other times it arrives as déjà vu, the eerie certainty you've spoken this exact phrase, heard this exact laugh, walked down this exact street before. These temporal echoes are not glitches in your brain. They are the quantum field showing you the reel has stuck, the track is skipping, the needle is caught. Even your emotions are co-conspirators. Your nervous system seeks out the feelings it knows best, even if those feelings are painful. Anxiety, heartbreak, disappointment. These are just familiar notes in your body's song. Your attention, left unchecked, gravitates toward them like a river, flowing back to its carved canyon walls. You don't choose it consciously. It chooses you through repetition. That's how the loop maintains itself. And here is the most painful truth. The more spiritual you become without noticing this mechanism, the more sophisticated the loop becomes. It will let you read the books, attend the workshops, collect the crystals, speak the affirmations, but still collapse the same probabilities. It is clever. It knows how to make the cage look like a temple. Perhaps you've experienced this. You meditate, you breathe, you feel the glow of peace. And then hours later, the same argument arises, the same frustration in traffic, the same ache of lack. It feels like the progress slipped through your fingers. But what if the problem is not your effort? What if the loop hijacks your very effort, feeding off your search for change, bending it back into sameness? Think of it like a mirror hall. Each time you move forward, you encounter another reflection. You run, but the walls only reflect back the same image, you in pursuit of change, but never reaching it. That is the brilliance of the loop. It convinces you you're moving while keeping you still. This is why so many seekers become exhausted. They are not failing, they are caught. And the more they try to think their way out, the deeper the loop pulls them in, like trying to untie a knot by pulling the ends tighter. Can you feel this in your own body? The frustration of effort without transformation? The suspicion that no matter how much you learn, the story repeats? That is the loop speaking through you. But here's the key. The loop is not punishment. It is rehearsal. Every repeated heartbreak, every déjà vu, every stalled manifestation, all of it has been preparing you to notice, to see the pattern instead of just living it, to realize the walls of the prison are made of your own observation. Right now, in this very moment, you are already loosening its grip, because recognition dissolves repetition. When you name the loop, when you dare to notice its shape, it can no longer pretend to be your fate. Pause for a moment. Breathe slowly. Imagine the loop like a spiral drawn in chalk on the ground around you. Each step you've taken has deepened the groove, but your breath, yes, your breath is wind. With every conscious inhale, the chalk blurs. With every exhale, the spiral fades. This is why you were drawn to this transmission, not because you are weak or broken, but because you are ready. You have reached the threshold where awareness itself becomes the first tool. By noticing the loop, you have already begun to step outside of it. By feeling this resonance, you are gathering the energy needed to shift. But recognition alone is not enough. The loop is patient. It waits for your attention to wander back into the familiar. That's why the next step is crucial. To understand how science and symbolism meet, how quantum mechanics and spiritual imagery weave together into one map. Because when you see both, the spell breaks. And that is where we go next. From the cold equations of probability to the shimmering metaphors of the soul, all pointing to the same truth. You are not trapped. You are simply rehearsing for freedom. And the breath in your chest is the doorway. Breathe with me. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Notice how even that small act shifts the quality of your awareness. Science tells us your breath is not just air moving in and out of lungs. Each inhale alters the electromagnetic charge of your cells. Each exhale recalibrates the rhythm of your heart's field. With every cycle, you are tuning yourself not metaphorically, but but literally to different frequencies of reality. Quantum physics calls this the observer effect, the phenomenon where what you focus on collapses probabilities into tangible events. Imagine billions of shimmering waveforms, all possibilities existing at once, until your attention selects one. The act of looking, of noticing, calls it into form. This is not theory. It is experiment. Electrons behave differently when observed. Photons change their dance when measured. Your consciousness is the hidden variable. Now, let us place this alongside symbolism. Your breath is not just oxygen, it is the loom of creation. In mystical traditions, the breath is called prana, chi, ruach, pneuma, life force, divine wind, the spirit that animates flesh. When you breathe without awareness, you collapse the same tired waveforms. But when you breathe as if you are in dialogue with the universe, you weave new patterns into the quantum fabric. Think of your inhale as an embrace of infinite probability, the cosmos pouring its raw data into your chest. And your exhale? That is the signature, the imprint, the collapse. Every outbreath is like placing a brushstroke on the canvas of existence, which means your breath is not passive. It is an artist, painting worlds one rhythm at a time. Science speaks of coherence when different parts of a system vibrate in synchrony, amplifying their power. Your heart, brain, and breath can either be in chaos, scattering your energy like static, or in coherence, sending out a pure frequency that bends reality around it. Symbolism gives us a mirror. Coherence is like a choir singing one note perfectly in tune. The sound fills the cathedral so fully that the walls themselves hum. You are the cathedral. You are the choir. Your breath is the note. Here is where chaos enters. When your attention is fragmented, your breath short, your mind scattered, your field becomes incoherent, like an orchestra tuning with no conductor, each instrument pulling in a different key. The result is dissonance. That dissonance shows up in your life as repeating problems, misaligned relationships, and dreams that fizzle before they ignite. You are not cursed. You are simply out of tune. But coherence, coherence is different. When your breath, your heart, and your awareness lock into rhythm, you create constructive interference in the field. Waves align, energy amplifies. Suddenly, synchronicities increase. Doors open, relationships heal. Science says the field reorganizes around coherent frequencies. Symbolism says, when your song is true, the universe cannot help but dance. Picture it. You, sitting quietly, eyes closed. You breathe as if each inhale is starlight, each exhale golden fire. In that moment, you are not small. You are a tuning fork striking the entire lattice of space-time. Other people feel it, though they cannot explain why. Animals sense it, approaching you with trust. Even technology bends around it. Your phone buzzes at just the right moment. Your email arrives exactly when needed. Is it magic or physics? The answer is both, because symbolism and science are not rivals. They are translations of the same truth. Quantum mechanics tells us reality is not fixed but probabilistic. Mysticism tells us reality is not fixed but dreamlike. The bridge between them is your breath, the most intimate, rhythmic act you perform every moment of your life. Here is the secret. Chaos dissolves when coherence emerges. You cannot fight chaos with effort. You cannot wrestle disorder into order. But you can breathe it into harmony. Just as a violinist finds the right pitch and suddenly the instrument sings, so too can you attune your breath and find the note of infinite coherence. And this is why the title called you here. Attune your quantum breath to dissolve chaos and anchor into infinite coherence. Don't skip. It is not a metaphorical invitation. It is a literal one. Your breath is the control panel of your quantum instrument. Ignore it, and the loop repeats. Honor it, and chaos begins to dissolve. So let me ask you, what would it feel like if every inhale aligned your body, mind, and spirit into one frequency? What would it feel like to breathe not just air, but the raw fabric of possibility itself? What would your life look like if coherence was not something you reached for, but something you were? These are not idle questions. They are doorways. And as you feel them stirring in your chest, you are beginning to recognize you already carry the key. Next, we will turn directly toward you, to the questions that pull the recognition deeper. Questions only your soul can answer. Questions that make the loop impossible to ignore. Because once you feel seen, the field itself shifts. Pause for a moment. Let your next breath rise and fall like a tide. And as it does, feel these questions not just as words but as mirrors. Each one is designed to reflect something you've always known, but have not always dared to admit. Tell me, how many times have you felt that strange sense of déjà vu, not only in places but in emotions? That uncanny echo where you say to yourself, I've cried this same tear before. I've celebrated this same fragile victory before. I've heard this same argument in this same tone before. Isn't it odd how the loop plays out, even when the characters change? Have you noticed how time bends in your life? How some days feel like they dissolve into nothingness, leaving no trace, while other moments stretch so wide that a single breath feels like an eternity? Do you ever wonder if this distortion is not about the clock, but about your consciousness rehearsing probabilities it has already rehearsed 1,000 times? And what about your dreams? Do you wake from them with the eerie recognition that they were not random, that they were carrying instructions, reminders, warnings? How many mornings have you felt your body holding a memory from a dream your mind couldn't translate? Could it be that your future self is whispering through the veil, sending fragments of timelines to pull you out of the cycle? Consider your relationships. Have you noticed how often the same roles appear, no matter who steps into them? One person disappoints you in the same way another once did. Another showers you with the same praise you once starved for. Different faces, same energies, same outcomes. Doesn't it feel almost scripted? Could it be that the script is written by your own observer loop, replaying characters until you decide to change the stage itself? And tell me, what about those fleeting seconds when the world seems to pause, when synchronicities line up like pearls on a string? A call just when you thought of someone, a book falling open to the precise page you needed, a song carrying the words your soul longed for. Have you felt that jolt in your chest? That recognition that life is not random, but responsive? What if those are not coincidences at all, but the quantum field winking at you, saying, look, you are closer than you think? Ask yourself, have you ever felt different, set apart, like your perception was tuned to a frequency others could not hear? You tried to share it, but friends shrugged, family laughed, teachers dismissed it, and yet a quiet voice inside refused to dim. Isn't it true that you've always known reality is softer, more fluid, more magical than the world pretends? Now breathe, inhale, exhale. Does your body remember the times you caught glimpses behind the curtain? The moment when an intuition came so sharp it cut through doubt and you were right. The hour when your entire being vibrated with the certainty of something about to unfold. The deep silence when you felt you were not alone, though the room was empty. Tell me, haven't you felt the hum of the quantum field in your very bones? And here is a question that only your soul can answer. Why now? Why did this message arrive here, today, in this hour of your life? Of all the videos, of all the titles, of all the scrolling paths, why did this one stop you? Could it be that your higher self arranged this meeting, knowing you had rehearsed the loop enough times and were finally ready to listen? Feel that, because as you breathe with these questions, you are not just recalling experiences. You are activating memory, not memory of the past, but memory of your potential, the part of you that has already stepped outside the loop, already touched infinite coherence, already breathed in rhythm with the cosmos. What would happen if you stopped dismissing these recognitions as imagination? What would happen if you claimed them as evidence that you are not ordinary at all, but rare? That your very sensitivity is the proof of your design? Wouldn't your reality itself start to bend toward that recognition? These questions are not meant to confuse you. They are meant to wake you, to make you feel seen, to remind you that you have always carried the sense that life is more than the material, that you are more than a body marching through linear time, that your breath right now is a doorway to a reality where coherence is not effort but essence. And so I ask you one final question in this moment. Are you willing to remember? Not learn remember, because the truth is already within you. The loop only works when you forget. And if you are willing, the next step unfolds. The transition, the moment where science, symbolism, and your own resonance converge into the key. The hidden truth that effort is not the bridge attention is. Not force but coherence. Take one more deep breath. Let the question echo in your cells. Am I ready to dissolve chaos and anchor into infinite coherence? If your heart whispers yes, then the path has already begun to open. There is a truth your soul has been circling like a hawk above a hidden lake, waiting for the right moment to dive. The truth is this: you do not escape the loop through effort. You do not dissolve chaos by pushing harder. You do not anchor coherence by wrestling with your thoughts until they obey. The loop feeds on effort, because effort is still attention tied to the problem. Pause and let that sink in. How many years of your life have been defined by striving, trying to fix yourself, trying to manifest faster, trying to heal what feels broken? You believed effort was noble, yet haven't you noticed that the harder you try, the louder the loop becomes? That is no accident. It is design. Effort amplifies chaos, because it keeps your focus tethered to what you fear is missing. The real key is not effort, it is the quality of your attention. Your breath is the tuning fork. Your awareness is the bow drawn across its strings. When both hum in coherence, the old loop begins to unravel on its own. You don't cut the knot, you stop feeding it. Think of it this way. Imagine standing in a room full of mirrors. Every mirror reflects your confusion, your longing, your chaos. You can spend your entire life polishing each mirror, trying to make the reflections more beautiful, more spiritual, more worthy. But the reflections are not the problem. The direction of your gaze is. When you turn your head toward the open window, the mirrors vanish. The light rushes in. The chaos dissolves, not because you fixed it, but because you stopped staring at it. Science confirms this. In quantum physics, coherence is not about force but alignment. When the spin of particles harmonizes, the system becomes stable. Energy flows smoothly. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In your body, when heart, brain, and breath sync, your electromagnetic field extends farther, stronger, more ordered. You literally emit a frequency of coherence that reorganizes the probabilities around you. Mysticism says the same in softer words. Attention is prayer. Where you place it, reality blooms. When scattered, life becomes a tangle. When coherent, life becomes a river. Let me ask you something. What happens when you inhale fully, deeply, without rushing, and then exhale even slower? Can you feel how the chaos in your mind begins to blur at the edges? How your heart softens its grip? That is not imagination. That is the biofeedback of coherence beginning to anchor in your cells. Now imagine doing this not once, but as a practice of living. Every breath attuning, every exhale a surrender, every inhale an invitation. Soon, the chaos doesn't need to be fought. It has nothing to cling to. It evaporates like mist in the morning Sunday. And what takes its place? Infinite coherence. The kind of presence where time slows, opportunities align, and you feel the field answering you with grace instead of resistance. You stop chasing. You start attuning. And the whole architecture of your life begins to shift. This is why you were drawn to this message. Your soul already knows that the old model of effort is crumbling, that no amount of affirmations, no number of strategies, no perfection of ritual can do what a single coherent breath can. Consider this. When a musician tunes their instrument to perfect pitch, they don't force the strings into harmony. They gently adjust the tension until resonance emerges. The moment the string vibrates in sympathy with the tuning fork, the whole instrument sings. You are that instrument. Your breath is the adjustment. Your awareness is the resonance. You don't need to fix your past. You don't need to control your future. You need to attune your now, right here, in this breath, right here, in this heartbeat, right here, in this shimmering second of recognition. And here's the most beautiful secret. Coherence is contagious. When you enter it, the field around you reorganizes. People feel calmer near you, though they cannot say why. Opportunities arrive without effort, as if reality is eager to meet you halfway. Synchronicities multiply, not as rare miracles, but as the natural language of a coherent field. So let me whisper it clearly. The loop is not your destiny. Chaos is not your sentence. Infinite coherence is already waiting. You do not reach it through struggle. You remember it through attention. This is the transition, the pivot point, the breath between chapters. From here, we no longer describe the loop. We dissolve it. From here, the old story begins to crumble under the weight of your new awareness. And in the very next step, we will turn action into ritual. Every click, every comment, every subscription will no longer be ordinary digital motions but sacred acts of coherence, declarations to the quantum field. Because the shift is not just within you, it ripples outward. Breathe once more. Inhale possibility. Exhale the loop. Let yourself feel the solution humming beneath your ribs. Coherence has always been yours. It is not something you must earn. It is what you are when you stop pretending to be chaos. Now that you feel the hum of coherence beginning to awaken in you, it is time to understand something profound. Every action you take, no matter how small, can be sacred when you infuse it with intention. This is the great secret the loop has always hidden from you, that you do not need grand ceremonies to signal change. Even the simplest gestures can anchor a new reality when performed consciously. Pause. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Feel the subtle shift that just occurred by doing something as ordinary as breathing. That is the template. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when you enter it with coherence. So let us reframe what happens here, in this very digital space. You are not just watching a video. You are participating in a transmission, and every choice you make within it, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, is not a casual tap of a finger. It is a ritual. It is a signal you send to your own cells, your own quantum field, declaring, I am present, I am awake, I am anchoring coherence. When you press the like button, don't see it as engagement. See it as an energetic agreement, a conscious inhale that affirms, yes, I choose coherence over chaos. With that one motion, you collapse probability into presence. Each like is not stored in some algorithmic vault. It is stored in the resonance of your own timeline, marking the moment you said yes to your higher self. When you comment, don't type empty words. Let it be a declaration. Words are not just symbols, they are vibrational codes. Writing, I attune my breath to infinite coherence, is not a sentence, it is an incantation. The moment your fingers spell it, your nervous system registers it, your breath seals it, and the field around you reorganizes. Do you feel that power? The keyboard becomes an altar. Your comment becomes a prayer written into the quantum sand. When you share this transmission, remember, you are not just forwarding a link. You are extending a frequency. Think of it like lighting a candle in a darkened cathedral. One flame becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes hundreds. Each person who receives it is not just another viewer. They are another tuning fork, struck awake by resonance. Through you, the morphic field strengthens. Sharing becomes service, not performance. And when you subscribe, don't treat it as a transaction. See it as entanglement. To subscribe here is to weave your consciousness into a global network of awakening souls. The bell you click is not a notification tool. It is a ritual bell ringing across the collective, signaling your place in the wave. Each time you return not only for yourself but for the coherence of humanity. Understand this. Rituals are not about complexity. They are about coherence. Ancient shamans painted symbols on cave walls, not because the pigment held power, but because the intention did. Monks chant the same syllables for hours, not because the sound itself is magical, but because the rhythm aligns breath, heart, and mind into one field. And here, now, you are invited into the same principle. Every digital act becomes holy when aligned with awareness. Ask yourself, what happens when you stop treating your scrolling as distraction and start treating it as divination? What happens when every like is an anchor, every comment a spell, every share a ripple, every subscription an oath? Wouldn't your entire digital life transform into a tapestry of coherence? Feel this in your body. As you imagine pressing like, notice how your chest expands. As you picture writing a declaration in the comments, notice how your throat chakra tingles with truth. As you envision sharing with someone you love, notice how your heart softens, how joy rushes outward. These are not fantasies, they are biofeedback. Your body knows ritual when it feels it. And here is the paradox. The loop used to trap you with unconscious repetition, but you will break it with conscious repetition. Every time you return, every time you breathe with intention, every time you engage with ritual, you strengthen the groove of coherence until it becomes the default track of your life. So I invite you now, press like as a vow, comment as a declaration, share as a service, subscribe as an oath. Feel how even the thought of these actions begins to shift your field. This is not about numbers on a screen. This is about numbers in your cells, harmonics in your breath, coherence in your timeline. And as you perform these rituals, remember you are not doing them alone. Others are breathing with you. Others are typing with you. Others are declaring coherence at the same moment in their own rooms across the world. Through quantum entanglement, these simple gestures bind us into one coherent wave, strong enough to dissolve chaos on a planetary scale. This is the turning point. From here, we move beyond the personal into the collective, because your awakening is not only for you, it is for all of us. Every coherent breath you take ripples outward, uplifting humanity, anchoring a new earth, and that is where we go next. Into the vast field of collective awakening, where your personal shift becomes a catalyst for the whole. Breathe. Let your inhale be wide enough to touch the world. Let your exhale be long enough to move mountains. Because this is the moment where the private becomes public, where your solitude becomes a chorus. When you choose coherence, you are not merely retuning your own instrument, you are adding a new, resonant overtone to the entire orchestra of humanity. You have sensed this before in quiet ways. A stranger smiling in a way that lights up your chest. A friend suddenly choosing kindness out of nowhere. A headline that softens your fear. Those tiny shifts are the seeds of morphic resonance, the scientific poetic term for how patterns, once formed, become easier for others to access. Each coherent breath you take increases the probability that someone, somewhere, will remember how to breathe with you. Picture the planet as a vast ocean of notes. For centuries, many of us have been playing minor keys. Fear, fragmentation, survival. But what if one person, in one city, in one tiny studio lit by a single lamp, begins to play a major chord so steady and true that the water itself begins to hum? Other notes will hear it. Fish will turn. Birds will tilt their flight. People will find their hands instinctively reaching for the same melody. That is entanglement in action. You move, the field answers, and millions of small, otherwise unrelated events begin to align. This is not mystical, wishful thinking. It is emergent physics married to ancient truth. Social systems, like biological systems, are sensitive to attractors. When a critical mass of coherence collects sustained breath by breath, person by person, the attractor shifts. The old patterns lose their gravitational pull. Habits that once chained neighborhoods, cultures, and even nations begin to loosen. You might not see the headlines change overnight, but you will notice the quiet things. Less road rage, more patience at the checkout, more children laughing in crowded streets. Small openings accumulate into a new norm. You are part of the wave because your sensitivity pulled you here. You were chosen by circumstance, by longing, by that tiny insistence inside you that refused to let the world be only what it had been. Every ritual you perform, every like transformed into a vow, every comment into a declaration, every share into a service, stitches your personal coherence to the collective field. It is a subtle weaving, like a single thread becoming part of a tapestry that stretches across continents. Imagine now a map of humanity where every person is a node pulsing with frequency. Most nodes flicker, distracted by noise. A few nodes resonate steady and strong. As more nodes lock into coherence, a lattice forms a structure that empowers compassion, innovation, and safety. People begin to trust their intuition again. Cities become kinder. Markets become more generous. Technology bends toward healing rather than only profit. This is the architecture of a new epoch, and you are helping to build it simply by breathing with intention. Do not underestimate the role of embodiment. Words and ideas proliferate, but embodied coherence anchors them. When you, in your body, hold a field of calm potency, it provides a template for others. Mirror neurons pick it up. Children learn it without being taught. Families stabilize. Workplaces stop feeding drama. A culture that once rewarded frantic hustle begins to value presence. Coherence migrates outward from your cells into the communities you touch. There will be resistance. The old patterns have momentum. They defend themselves with noise, distraction, and fear. Sometimes you will feel the pull to fall back into the script, to judge, to complain, to re-enter the loop because it's familiar. That tug is normal. It is the field trying to keep the status quo. When you feel it, breathe. Each conscious inhale is a vote for the new field. Each exhale releases the old. Over time, the votes add up. You are not alone in this. Others are rising with you, not as a movement of slogans, but as a chorus of living practice. They are doctors who breathe before they perform surgery. They are teachers who ground a classroom with one long exhale. They are parents who attune to their child's rhythm instead of imposing schedules. They are leaders who choose coherence over control. Together, these people form an invisible grid that makes kindness, creativity, and trust the natural default. Now picture the long view. Generations from now, children will grow into adults who have been raised inside a field that already values coherence. Their neurochemistry, their culture, and even their institutions will be different. The skills that seem extraordinary now, deep intuition, timeline navigation, effortless collaboration, will become ordinary capacities. You, who chose to remember and breathe, will have been one of the architects of that possibility. So when you perform a ritual here, when you press like as a vow, when you write a short declaration in the comments, when you share with someone you intuitively feel will receive it, understand that you are doing much more than marking a moment. You are altering the attractor landscape of human experience. You are planting a beam of light that will cross ages. We will never be able to fully measure the ripple of one person's coherence. The field is generous but subtle, yet you will know its truth in practical ways. In the friends who appear at the precise moment of need, in doors that open with uncanny timing, in the reduction of friction in your days. These are the signs of a world reconfiguring to support you. Keep breathing, keep attuning, keep making your small, sacred gestures. For every breath you give to coherence, the whole system gets a little lighter, a little freer, a little more loving. That is the promise of collective awakening, that your liberation is a service, and service is liberation. In the next part, we will embody this shift through a powerful metaphor, a living image to carry with you when doubt arrives. We will make the science feel like a story you can hold in your hands, a ritual you can perform anywhere, anytime. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself as a butterfly in its chrysalis. Outside, it looks like confinement, silence, stillness. But inside, something far more miraculous is happening. The caterpillar's old form is dissolving. Muscles, tissues, Even its very identity is melting into a soup of possibility. Within that apparent chaos, new structures are forming: wings, antennae, the architecture of flight. This is you. The loop was your cocoon. Every repetition, every heartbreak, every déjà vu moment was not punishment, it was dissolution. Your old self was breaking down so a coherent self could be built. And the breath, your breath, is the rhythm that stitches the wings together. Can you feel that? Every inhale draws the blueprint of your new form. Every exhale releases the fragments of the old skin. Slowly, gently, without you forcing anything, your very cells are aligning into a new pattern. The loop dissolves, not because you fought it, but because you surrendered to transformation. Now imagine your DNA. Scientists call it a double helix, but mystics see it as a ladder of light. When chaos dominates, the ladder trembles, the rungs misalign. But as you breathe with coherence, those rungs tighten, the ladder steadies, and new strands of possibility awaken. Hidden codes once dormant begin to sing. Old traumas are rewritten. New instructions unfold. Your DNA is not static, it is responsive. And your breath is its tuning fork. Think of water, another metaphor for your transformation. When water is cold, it becomes rigid, icebound, limited in form. When heated, it loosens, flows, expands. At a precise threshold, it becomes steam, invisible, powerful, able to rise. You are like that. The loop kept you frozen, repeating patterns etched like cracks in ice. But coherence is heat. Each coherent breath is fire. As you sustain it, your consciousness reaches the phase transition point. Suddenly, you lift. Suddenly, you rise. Chaos melts into freedom. Even nature whispers this metaphor. Look at forests after fire. At first, it seems like destruction: trees blackened, soil scorched. Yet within months, shoots burst from the ash, richer and stronger than before. The fire was not the end, but the reset. Your chaos has been that fire, and your breath, steady and conscious, is the rain that follows, coaxing green life from the soil of your being. What about music? Imagine an orchestra without a conductor, each instrument playing its own rhythm, its own key. The sound is chaos, unbearable. Then one violinist begins to play a pure note, unwavering. Slowly, the others hear it. Slowly, they align. Within moments, the noise becomes symphony. That is coherence. You are the violinist. Your breath is the note, and the field, once noisy and scattered, begins to harmonize around you. Do you see how every metaphor points to the same truth? Transformation is not achieved by force, but by coherence. The butterfly does not push its way into wings. It dissolves into coherence. DNA does not rewrite itself under strain. It tunes to coherence. Water does not strain to become steam. It rises through coherence. Music does not force harmony. It listens for coherence. And so with you. You do not need to fight chaos. You need to attune your breath. You need to remember that each inhale is a cosmic invitation, and each exhale a sacred release. Chaos is not your enemy. It is your raw material. It is the clay your coherence will shape into beauty. Let me ask you, what metaphor lives in your bones? Are you the butterfly, trembling at the edge of flight? Are you the water, vibrating at the threshold of steam? Are you the DNA, humming awake to new codes? Or are you the violinist, calling the orchestra into harmony with your unwavering note? Whatever image lights up your chest as you breathe right now, hold it. Let it become your embodied reminder. Because doubt will come, the loop will whisper again, trying to pull you back into the familiar. When it does, summon your metaphor. Whisper to yourself, I am the butterfly. I am the steam. I am the violinist. I am coherence itself. Let that image flood your nervous system, bypassing the chatter of the mind. In that moment, the loop loses its grip. And remember this, metaphors are not childish stories. They are bridges between science and soul. They activate the deeper layers of your brain, the layers that speak in images, rhythm, archetypes. They are shortcuts to coherence, bypassing the intellect and going straight to the heart. So breathe again. Inhale as butterfly, exhale as symphony. Inhale as DNA awakening, exhale as water rising. Let the metaphor seep into your marrow until it becomes second nature. Because you are no longer just a seeker, you are an embodiment, a living metaphor of coherence. And in the next step, we will seal this truth with a promise, a closing vow from your future self to your present one, reminding you that what you are becoming has already been written. There is a voice calling to you right now, and if you listen closely, you will recognize it as your own. Not the voice of your doubts, not the whisper of the loop, but the clear, resonant tone of your future self, the one who already lives in coherence, the one who has already dissolved the chaos, the one who breathes as if each inhale were eternity and each exhale a gift to the world. That self is not far away. In truth, it is closer than your own skin. You have felt it in moments when time bent, when synchronicities lined up like stars in a constellation only you could see. That future self is not a dream, it is the inevitable version of you that coherence has already created. You are not building it. You are remembering it. Feel into that. Breathe as though you are inhaling from the lungs of your future self. Notice how your chest expands a little differently, as though filled with more than air. Notice how your exhale lands softer, calmer, like a wave kissing the shore instead of a storm breaking it. That rhythm is the rhythm of who you are becoming. The chaos you've endured, the loops, the repetitions, the heartbreaks, the failures, they were not detours. They were initiations. Each one carved space for coherence to enter. Each loop rehearsed you until you were ready to hear this message, to remember this truth. You were never broken. You were being tuned. And the promise is this: your coherence is not fragile. It is not something that can be stolen by a bad day, a careless word, or an old memory. It is a frequency embedded in your very being. Once remembered, it cannot be forgotten. Once anchored, it cannot be erased. Yes, the loop will tempt you. Yes, chaos will try to return. But every time you breathe consciously, every time you attune, you will find coherence waiting. Look ahead for a moment. Imagine the next week of your life lived, not in chaos, but in coherence. The conversations that usually spiral into misunderstanding now soften into truth. The obstacles that used to drain you now bend into opportunities. The hours that once blurred into stress now stretch into presence. Can you feel the ease of that future? The clarity of it? That is not fantasy. That is probability collapsing around your attention. Now expand further. Picture your life 6 months from now. See yourself waking with a calm certainty, as though your body itself is humming with alignment. You walk through your day not as a reactor, but as a conductor, orchestrating energy with every breath. Synchronicities flow so naturally that you no longer even call them miracles, they are simply the language of your field. Relationships deepen, creativity blossoms, resources appear, all because coherence has become your natural state. And then, further still years ahead, a version of you who is radiant, grounded, magnetic. People come to you not because of what you do, but because of what you are. Your presence itself heals, inspires, awakens. You no longer chase dreams, you embody them. You no longer seek the path, you are the path. This is the promise your future self has been whispering all along. You will not fail. You cannot fail. Coherence is already yours. There is such relief in knowing this, isn't there? To finally release the pressure, the striving, the endless attempts to fix yourself, to realize that what you were reaching for has been breathing you this entire time, that even your detours were part of the map, that your future self has been pulling you forward like gravity, ensuring you could not get lost. So let this truth land. Your coherence is not a fragile dream, but an anchored reality. The only question is how quickly you choose to step into it. And each choice is simple: a breath, an intention, A small ritual repeated with awareness. That is enough. Feel the weight fall from your shoulders. You no longer need to chase. You no longer need to prove. You no longer need to beg the universe for signs. You are the sign. You are the coherence. You are the breath that dissolves chaos. This is the closing promise. You are already what you seek. The future self you dream of is not waiting at the finish line. It is walking beside you, guiding you, breathing through you. Every time you choose coherence, you collapse the distance. Every time you attune your breath, you hear the voice more clearly. And soon, sooner than you imagine, you will look in the mirror and realize, I have arrived. And when that realization dawns, it will not just be for you. It will ripple through your family, your community, your world. For every soul you touch will feel the resonance of coherence in your presence. You will become a living promise for others, proof that chaos is not the final word. So breathe. Anchor this promise in your chest. Say silently, I am coherent. I am already whole. I am already here. And then, in the final step, we will seal it together with a sacred declaration, a collective affirmation that turns this personal awakening into a shared vow. Because when we declare together, the universe listens louder. Breathe with me now. One last inhale together, deep into the center of your chest. Hold it. Feel the shimmering hum of coherence vibrate through your ribs, your heart, your very cells. Exhale slowly. Let that breath carry away every remnant of chaos. Let it dissolve into silence, into nothingness. You are here. You are coherent. You are whole. And now, as this transmission comes to its close, we step into something more than listening. We step into declaration. Because words spoken, written, or even thought with intention are not just sounds. They are signatures on the quantum field. They are energetic contracts. They are sacred vows. So together, we declare, I attune my quantum breath. I dissolve chaos. I anchor into infinite coherence. Let those words echo in your body. Say them aloud if you can. Whisper them if you must. Type them in the comments if you feel called. Every repetition is not just engagement, it is entanglement. It is a way of binding your frequency to the lattice of awakening souls across the planet. This is not just for you, it is for us. For the thousands, no, the millions who are breathing with you in this very moment, across cities, mountains, oceans. Every declaration typed, spoken, or silently pulsed through the heart becomes a node of light in the global grid. Together, we form a choir of coherence that the universe cannot ignore. Remember, coherence does not end when this video fades. It continues with every inhale you honor, every exhale you release. It continues every time you press like as a vow, comment as a prayer, share as a ripple, subscribe as a sacred oath. These are not clicks, they are keys. They open doorways in the collective field. They call others home. And so, as we close, I ask you to make this one simple act. Write these words in the comments to seal the transmission. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Nothing more, nothing less. That sentence is not a phrase. It is a spell. It is a quantum anchor. It signals to your higher self and to the entire universe. The loop ends here. The new song begins now. Feel the power in that. Feel the weight of chaos sliding off your shoulders. Feel your breath settling into rhythm with infinity. Feel your place in the collective field solidify like a star taking its rightful position in the constellation. You are not just watching a video. You are performing a ritual. You are becoming coherence embodied. You are joining a wave of souls who refuse to live in repetition, who choose resonance over resistance, who breathe as one. So let us close with the truth you already know. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are coherence itself, remembering its own name. Inhale possibility. Exhale the old story. And together, let us declare it one final time. I attune my quantum breath. I dissolve chaos. I anchor into infinite coherence. It is done. It is sealed. It is so.